Hi, my name's Chris. This is Coco. We're going to answer the question for you real quick. You said, what's some things you should know before getting a macaw? Because you're considering getting a macaw, there might be a few things that you haven't researched. I'm going to recommend a few sites for you at the end of this video. Number one is room and environment. You want to be certain that you have a decent area to set them up in, whether you have a cage, bird stand, jungle gyms, whatever stuff you're planning on getting for your bird. I hope it's not a cage. Check out my other video on jungle gyms and bird stands, what you can do for your bird as an option other than caging. You'll get a lot more respect for them and have a lot better interaction with them, trust me. Time. You got to make sure that you have the appropriate amount of time to properly care for and house these exotic creatures. They demand a little bit more time and respect than the average dog or cat. Money. You got to be certain that you have the funds necessary to get toys, bird stands, whatever else you need to purchase as far as jungle gyms, food, bedding. Definitely want to have something set aside in the event that you might require or they might need an avian vet. Avian vets can be pretty pricey because they are an exotic breed and there are very few avian vets. And when I say very few, I mean in comparison to the average vets that you have. You know, it was extremely hard for me to find a avian vet here in North Carolina. I actually had to drive about 45 miles just to get to the closest one. That was after a lot of searching. Anyway, depending on the age and training level of the bird that you either purchase or adopt, I hope you choose to adopt, you got to be okay with a bite. I've got a few scars from some of the birds that I've worked with. Now, most of the birds that I've worked with were birds that I was either rehoming or rehabilitating. So, being that still, even if you get a bird at a young age, you're still going to go through the training process of, hey, no, that's not good. You don't want to bite. Just basically the same as you would with any cat or dog. If you know they get too nippy when you hand them a treat or something like that, they go through a learning process. It's quite similar. Climate control. You want to keep a reasonable temperature in the environment that you have them in. No lower than 69, 70 degrees, no higher than. This is just my personal recommendation. I've noticed their comfort level is a lot more relaxed when they're around between the 70, 75 degree area with decent humidity and at least a fan going, something to keep the air moving. Flight time. Flight time is definitely important. It's a good exercise for them, and it also allows them to exert some of their natural instincts and energies. You'll see a lot more of the macaw come out instead of a dominated creature that's got no choice but to be your pet. Maintaining the feathers. Now, you'll notice that there are some, at times when new feathers come in, they look kind of pointy, and there's like this plastic-looking coating around it, or it's kind of like a fingernail, but really, really soft. You can knead the end of that and help them release the feather. That's kind of a bonding process that you can go through with them. They do that to themselves and to their other mates or friends. Maintenance of talons. You definitely want to be certain that you've got either a rock stand set up for them to rub their talons on, some kind of perch with sandpaper on it that will help them round off those ends or edges. If you're going to clip your bird's talons, check out the video I've got on clipping talons. It shows a crude drawing diagram of, you know, how far and how much you want to take off and what to stay away from so you don't accidentally cause the bird to bleed. Chew toys and stone perches. Stone perches are really important for these guys because you'll notice after having one for a while that they rub their beak on stuff, and that's just to keep their beak filed and under control. They maintain themselves to a certain extent, like they'll bite the tips of their talons just to keep themselves from scratching themselves too hard, because you'll notice they actually scratch just like dogs and cats behind the ear and things like that. Chew toys, I would recommend. There's a cheap way to have things for them to chew on. If you can find scrap wood that's untreated, nothing that's got any paint, chemicals, or plastic on it, they'll chew anything like that. They love to tear and shred paper. There's basically anything you put in front of them, they'll try to make a toy and some form of interaction out of it with you. Frequently asked questions. Are they friendly? Yes, they're extremely friendly. Blue and golds are the most popular among the macaws because they're so naturally friendly, easy to train, and very talkative. Primarily the males. Females are somewhat talkative depending on the one that you have. I mean, it's quite different with every different bird, but at the same time, they're quite fun. Are they loud? Yes, they're They're loud. They can be loud, but there's usually a reason why. Check out the video I've got on the 20 questions. It'll explain a little bit more about reasons behind why they're being loud, how you can evaluate that situation and come to a determination of the reason and solve that issue there. Do they bite hard? Yeah, they bite hard. That thing about them biting through broom handles, I've never seen it, and they've never bitten me that hard. And I've handed them a piece of wood about the diameter of a broom handle, and it took them a while to chew through it. So that's one of those scare tactics, I think. And the beak does look intimidating to the people that don't know much about them. But at the same time, they're not going to really bite anything that's not food unless they have really good reason, and that's something that you should evaluate with your individual bird. Are they okay with kids? Yeah, to a certain extent. You want to monitor the process, want to be there as kind of the overseer to be certain that nothing wrong can happen. Sometimes kids can play a little too rough or pet too hard or be too fast moving, and they might misconstrue that as it being an act of aggression. So monitor that with caution. What do they eat? Well, it depends on the diet that they're weaned from. The weaning process is where you go from hand feeding with the syringe-like thing with a liquid diet to either a pellet form of food, a parrot diet, or a seed diet. Depending on what they're on, my personal recommendations are listed on my page, so you can check those out. Allergies. They have a few allergies. You want to keep them away from cherries, avocados, anything with caffeine, and chocolate. Those things are toxic to them. And in the wild, they have ways of neutralizing those toxins by going to what's known as the clay lick. They actually ingest clay. It filters and neutralizes the chemicals and toxins and flushes their system. They don't have that in captivity, and you do not need to have clay in their diet. Are they messy? Somewhat, depending on what kind of setup that you have for them. I get big rolls of plastic, put rolls of plastic down just in case, and they usually don't make too much of a mess unless they get really excited and start slinging their food around. It's just something to vacuum up after. Anything that you put them on, until they're totally used to being on your shoulder, they're going to figure out not to crap on you because they don't want to rub their tail in what's running down your back. So they kind of figure that one out on their own, and it's a good training process to often take them, put them on the stand, and put them back on your shoulder to give them time to figure that one out. Caging. I recommend against caging. You can check out my other videos on jungle gyms and perches. Toys. Any toys that you purchase for them, I recommend you purchasing them directly from a pet store because they'll be certain that there's no harmful chemicals, toxins, or plastics that would be a detriment to the bird. Where are they from? They're from areas of South America, some parts of lower North America, Mexico, and Brazil. They're known as neotropical parrots. They range in size. Some of the sizes, like with the hyacinths, the really, really big blue ones, are known as the gentle giants. I'll tell you more information about that here in a second. I got a few more questions to answer. Should I get more than one? Yes, definitely. It's unless you have all the time every day to spend as many hours as humanly possible with your bird, I recommend you get more than one. This way they have some form of companion to interact with when you're not around if you're gone for hours at a time, or if you have a job like most of us do. If you don't, that's a great thing. You can spend plenty of time with your bird, and he or she will be just fine with you. Should I breed? Well, that's a personal thing. You should do your own research on that and come to a conclusion. It has been said that there are more macaws in captivity than there are actually in the wild, and it's quite a sad thing. I think between 6 and 7 species of macaws have gone extinct since the early 1900s as a result of deforestation, hunting, and illegal trafficking of these animals. So if you're interested in helping in any way with the macaws in the wild, check out the WWF. That's not the World Wrestling Federation. It's the World Wildlife Foundation. They work directly with associations that help with the wildlife in those areas. Are they loving, and do they like to be pet? Yes, they love to be pet if you're petting them correctly. You want to be slow and smooth and kind and compassionate. And if they get kind of jerky or open their beak in any way, that's kind of a way of them saying, don't mess with me right now, I'm not ready to be pet. You'll notice when they're in a loving mood, they'll want to snuggle and cuddle. Sometimes they'll actually fall asleep on your shoulder. They typically sleep on their feet. They'll stand on their feet at times. A Oh, is it normal for them to grind their beak? Yes. That's actually a sign of complete comfort and relaxation when they're going to sleep at night. They usually sleep on one foot. Sometimes they'll swap foots during the evening. You may see them pop a feather, or not pop a feather, pop a wing. That's kind of one of those things like they're just going into some form of sleep. It's really cute. But anyway, what do I do if they ever get sick? You want to be certain that you already have made contact and have a contact number or contact information of an avian vet, just to be certain, because these are quite complex creatures and you shouldn't hesitate to ask any question to a professional that knows what they're talking about with a parrot. Is training hard? Training is not very difficult if you find a good training treat. My recommendations on the other videos are peanuts, oranges, sometimes apples, grapes if you wash them thoroughly, because the chemicals and pesticides on there are not good for them. Sometimes crackers. I try to stay away from salt, because too much salt is not good for, well, too much of anything isn't good for anybody. Do they talk? Yes, they talk a lot. They're quite easy to train. You want to repeat yourself just once or twice. If you say it too much, it kind of devalues the word, and definitely use a treat in that process. Are they expensive, and should I adopt? Yes, you certainly should adopt. Do the best that you can to find any animal that's in need to adopt, because breeding is one of those things where we're actually keeping the value of the bird by continually breeding and selling. And being that there are so many on the market and so many in captivity, we could actually solve one of the problems with the hunting and illegal trafficking by devaluing these creatures. There's more on that on another video you can check out on my channel. What age should I acquire the macaw? The younger the better. They're going to bond with you more personally if you do involve yourself in the weaning process. You want to be certain that you get with somebody that knows what they're doing and has done the weaning process themselves successfully several times. If you want more personal information on that, you can contact me at my email or check out my video on weaning. How long do they live? They average between 90 and 105 years. I forget the oldest one on record. There's a video on that on YouTube. So when you're considering getting a macaw, you want to be certain that you have somebody that's younger than you that can take care of the bird, that you've already taken care of that. Make sure that somebody can properly house and maintain the bird and take good care of the bird in the event of your death, because they more than likely will outlive you. How are they around other pets? They're really, really good around other pets. I have dogs, cats, snakes, frogs, fish, and everything. The only incident I've ever had is Guy, the scarlet up there, she flew onto my turtle tank and chomped my turtle. That's the only incident I've ever had. She was probably more curious than anything. Typically, they stay away from any other animals that aren't birds. Even some different breeds of birds, they kind of try to scare them away. So they're quite independent among other species. Among their own, they're okay, and they certainly bond with humans. Are they expensive? They're not. They are to a certain extent. If you're choosing to purchase, I recommend adoption. They can range anywhere between $600 and $4,000, depending on the breeder that you go to. You definitely want to do some research on that as well. Let's see. Are they endangered? Yeah, some species, some breeds of macaws are endangered. Like I was saying earlier, there are 7 species that have been lost since the early 1900s. And, all right, last question is, how big do they get? Well, the gentle giant's known as the hyacinth. It's the largest breed, one of the largest breeds of the macaws. Can get upwards of 8 pounds and little over 3 feet from head to tail. So the length and width of the head to tail and tip of wing to wing is about the same as the average green wing or blue and gold, just a little bit, a few inches bigger, obviously. The blue and golds and the green wings can average anywhere from 2 to 3 pounds to a little more than that, and about 30-35 inches head to tail. I hope I've got most of your questions answered. If you have any more, please comment or contact me. I'll make a video for you or send you any information, links, etc. I help in any way that I can. Anyway, take good care of your birds and have a good day.